goodbye. For a cancer patient, that word has two very different meanings. That's why when we've done everything we can, we do things nobody's done before.
I did it, Mom.
At the Christ Hospital Health Network, we collaborate with Dana-Farber Brigham Cancer Center to offer next-level care, developed by the world's best minds. Treatment that could change your odds. Or maybe the world. The Christ Hospital Health Network. Everything it takes.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 819, How Nicole Stopped Yo-Yo Dieting and Lost 145 Pounds.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Pound This Podcast. You will hear a lot in this episode about Sarah and Team Fit With Me because we're going to hear all about how Nicole stopped yo-yo dieting and lost 145 pounds. And spoiler alert, she lost that weight by working with Sarah and Jess and Team Fit With Me. So you're going to hear a lot about that in Nicole's journey. But if you are looking for an amazing health coach, accountability buddy, maybe you've been doing the yo-yo diet thing too. You trust me, I have been there. Then Sarah and Team Fit With Me can help. Now, if you've looked into Sarah before and maybe the pricing was a little bit out of your range or just didn't fit you where you are, Sarah has changed some of her pricing around. We'll meet you where you're at. So reach out to Sarah and Team Fit With Me, and she'll try to work with you what budget is best for you, just like she's going to work with how exercise is best for you and what nutrition is best for you. So go to teamfitwithme.com and check out Sarah and her entire team, which again, you're going to hear a lot about in this episode. And if you're looking for some healthy, convenient food and you're in Cincinnati, check out Clean Eats in Newport. They are amazing. We got Brandon and Justin and the team there, and the bucket hats. If you're going to go in there, you're going to see the bucket hats. They're rocking a trend. But everybody there is so awesome and so helpful. And if you are tracking your macros, which you most likely will do if you're working with Sarah and Team Fit With Me, those are all labeled on your meals. All of your macros, your calories, the ingredients, everything is made from fresh, clean ingredients. And not only do you have all the frozen meals, you have the fresh meals, you have the cafe, plus they have the cauliflower crust pizza. They have their new seasoning line. I have not tried that yet. And plus you can get your protein powders and everything there too. So if you're looking for a healthy lifestyle, check out Clean Eats in Newport. They will help you, even if it's just, hey, I want to go out to lunch, but I want to make sure I have some really good options. Their cafe food is so good. The flatbreads, those are amazing. And all the melts, check them out. So go in. Again, there's no like membership or anything like that or subscription. If you want to do the fresh meals, that's what I do. I do 21 meals a week. I order ahead of time. I go pick them up on Sunday or Monday. Easy peasy. Or you can go right in and pick up some frozen meals. It's awesome. So check out Clean Eats in Newport. Now let's get to Nicole's amazing story. Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine. I am very excited about this conversation because Nicole, I don't really know anything about you other than I've been told that you have an amazing journey and that you are a badass. And so I'm like, I have to talk to somebody that has those kind of labels put on them from Sarah from Team Fit With Me. So she's just like, you got to talk to Nicole. She is fantastic. So welcome, Nicole. Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Amanda.
So
Yeah, Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so no pressure other than being like, I'm starting the conversation with I heard you're amazing. Now tell me all about it.
Yeah. Tell me everything.
So I know about you. I know that you work with Sarah and Team Fit With Me. That's what I know. So we'll start there. I know that you are in Washington State. So tell me, go to the beginning of your journey before we get to where we are today, where I know we have a mutual friend with Sarah. Tell me where your journey begins. Tell me some backstory about you.
Mm-hmm. We can take it all the way back to the beginning. I feel like my entire life I've been overweight, something that I've always struggled with. I always was really active. I played sports growing up. I never really let it hold me back from doing what I wanted to do, but I just was never super comfortable in my own skin. And then in 2020, I had a baby, and so Coach Jess that works with Sarah, her and I are really good friends. We went to college together. And she was like, I met somebody who's really helping me with my nutrition, and you've got to meet her. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I was like, I was really at the crossroads of like, am I going to have bariatric surgery or am I going to try something else, And so Jess introduced me to her. I asked Sarah a lot of questions, and I was like, I was miserable. I hurt from head to toe. I wasn't sleeping. Besides having a baby, but I just I could hardly fall asleep. I didn't stay asleep. So I wrote Sarah and listened to what she had to say, and I just dove right in head first.
So are you one of those people? I mean, like I minus the baby part, I can see myself in a lot of that, but I'm a person that also like tried so many diets. Did you try a bunch of diets to try to solve some issues for you too?
Yeah. I mean, all the way back in like middle school, I was doing Slim Fast and like the fat loss green tea pills that you can buy at the drugstore. I did Weight Watchers. I joined like boot camps and all kinds of gyms and their, weight loss programs. And, things would work for a little while and I could lose, anywhere between like 50 and 80 pounds, but then I would gain it all back. Nothing was sustainable. I did low carb. I did about everything.
How horrible is it? Because I did similar. I never did Slim Fast though. I don't think I could just do the diet shakes like that. That is something I did avoid. But like I think that you can only really understand if you've been there where you lose that much weight and then you gain it back and you have to lose it again. Like the mental struggle that is to be like, start that all over again is just like, oh.
Yes. And for me, it just always made me feel like a failure. Like I can't do this. Like it's just not in the cards for me. No matter what I tried, like I couldn't keep it off. I didn't know how. I thought I had a lot of education and knowledge behind it, but after meeting Sarah, I knew that was not true. So I'm just like, I would always say, like, why can I succeed in other aspects of my life, but not this one? Why can't I figure this one out?
Yeah. Do you feel like you have an answer for that?
I think it was just a lack of education and a lack of like what was really going on internally in my body. Sarah really helped me figure out how to get healthy from the inside out, rather than just focusing on a calorie deficit, like making sure your hormones are in check, gut health, like all the things that she taught me.
I know. It's so like all of those diets don't really focus on anything other than just like we're going to do a ton of like calorie restriction, which I think is why you end up like gaining it all back. But like, what was your thought process into thinking getting bariatric surgery?
Is my insurance going to cover it? Like that was my number one question. And Jess was really the only person I had known that had it. And I had seen her experience, which she was successful, but she did have her struggles. And it terrified me. I wasn't something I really wanted to do, but I didn't think that I had any other option. And I guess I thought it was a complete solution. I didn't see it as a tool, as Sarah has, shown me that it was just for her. Again, it was just a tool in her journey. So that she helped me to realize that was a tool that I didn't necessarily need. She helped me get through that.
Yeah. And I think that's so awesome about having like a team of coaches like Sarah that, that have had that surgery and like understand that struggle of like, that is, you're in a certain place whenever you have, the thought process of getting surgery. Cause I just feel like you're at that place of like, nothing else works. Like, why can't I figure this out? And I'm like, I totally get where you were saying of like, how can I be successful in other areas? But like, I just like can't figure this out. And it's because it's so many things and you're just focused on the one part of it. And it's like, you almost need somebody there with like a voice of experience and knowledge to be like, we're looking at this wrong. But how many of us like look at it the wrong way for so long? Like it sucks, but it's so hard because you have so many like diet companies and so many people telling you that's what you should be focused on. So it's like, how are you like, I didn't even think about when I was thinking about losing weight, I didn't even think about like, what does my sleep look like, or think my stress had any level to play in it other than my emotional eating, which is still a struggle. So like, let's not act like that went away.
Right. Exactly. No, I feel that one.
So what do you feel like is different now, or what was like when you first started working with Sarah and Jess and her whole team? Like, what were any eye-opening moments between what you had done before and like what this new way of living looked like?
I would say mostly just like the freedom of choice of foods. You know, I could still eat whatever I wanted. She just, I mean, I've always known like portion control, but to break it down into macros, you know, your proteins, fats, and carbs, like nobody's ever done that for me before. So I think that was a huge part of it. Like, oh, I can still eat tacos. Like, I can still eat this, you know, like that for me was huge, because the restricting part of it, of so many of the other diets, is what threw me off, because I don't want to eat like that all the time, you know? And then I think just really, just the mental aspect of it too. And I think just having somebody like Sarah and Jess who have been through it and being able to talk to them, especially in the beginning, every step of the way, just, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I want to do. Like, I want to just go eat this whole sleeve of cookies right now, but why do I want to do that? You know? And she would help me navigate it. And it's like, because it's that instant gratification of that, oh, yeah, that feels good. But then you're not going to feel good later. So just almost like a little therapy, you know, like having somebody to walk you through those steps. Like, I never had that before. Like, that was a huge missing piece for me. Definitely.
How long have you been working with them now?
Since July 2020. So almost 3 years.
Oh, dang. So like, what differences have happened in your life? Like, what are some of the results or positive side effects you've seen in the past 3 years?
Well, a big one would be almost 145 pounds lost.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Dang!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so many inches, just body composition change. Just life is easier because moving is easier. And I look forward to moving. I can do all the things with my son, get on the floor, run around, go to the park, swing, you know, just all the things that should have been easy, but they just weren't. When you're almost 400 pounds, like, that stuff's not easy.
Yeah.
So, and also I would say just really adopting that lifestyle. Like, it's second nature now. It's not, don't get me wrong, some days it's hard and you have to put in the extra effort, but just, you know, meal prepping either Sunday or Monday, you know, just planning ahead, always planning ahead is what I do now.
Yeah. Ooh, you're speaking my language here. Meal prep. What does your meal prep typically look like?
Typically I will go in my, app and kind of plan out the foods that I want to eat. And then I'll go online grocery shopping, and then I'll pick that up either Sunday or Monday. And then I usually meal prep. I put an entire lunch together and most of a breakfast. And then I just prep a lot of proteins and carbs separately. And then I just can mix and match throughout the day. So
smart,
easy accessibility. But it used to take me hours, and I try to limit it to like maybe 2 hours out of my day.
Yeah, that's the thing about meal prepping. You know, I've been meal prepping forever, is that like when you it's really intimidating. And then it's also just finding out what works for you. Like I really enjoy when I'm doing almost every meal because I don't want to think about it the rest of the week. Like, cause then I'll get stressed out. Like that's what I learned from like doing things like Weight Watchers and having points and stuff like that. I would freak out about it and starve myself all day and then binge at night. So I'm like, if I don't have a plan and it's not all done, like that's just how my brain works. So that's what works best for me. But, and I totally lost where my point was because I got lost and then the meal prep thing. But it's just like, I don't know. It just makes life so much easier in doing things the way that you want them. And I feel like that solved the dieting problem for me because I wasn't planning ahead. I was trying to make these choices as I went along from the day. And that added so much more stress and anxiety that would play into, I need to feel better. So I need to eat more now to get rid of this ugly feeling instead of like having a plan and planning ahead. I remember where I was going with this is also like when I first started it, not only is it intimidating to do that, but then it does take a lot of times until you kind of get the ropes where you're just like, oh my God, I spent hours doing this and now I have to do all these dishes and this takes so much time. I can see where it's easy to give up, but it's like once you get a routine down, then you can just like snap it out of place and you give yourself so much time the rest of the week and it makes life, I think, so much easier and less stress and anxiety around your food that I'm like, chef's kiss. I love meal prep.
Yeah, I love it too. And I'm no shame in frozen vegetables in the microwave and a rotisserie chicken. Like,
oh yeah.
It can be that easy. There's some weeks that I don't have the hours to give. And so, but there are so many simple meals that I've, come across in these last 3 years that there are no excuses for me anymore. Like I know that I can do it. I used to tell my friends, I'm like, yeah, it's like a part-time job, meal prepping.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? I have to, because yes, like you said, that it takes the anxiety around food away because I know what's there. I know what I have. But now I feel like as I've grown with Sarah and my comfort around food, and I can trust myself more, like if I am having some sort of craving, I can, look at my app and be like, yeah, okay, let's swap this out because I really need to get some chocolate in today. Something telling me I have to get that in, and I can figure that out, rather than, oh, I'm just going to eat the chocolate and not track it and it's fine. But
yeah. No, that's awesome.
I don't have to do that anymore.
So what are your favorite things to eat? Like what's a general staple for you?
I eat a lot of steamed broccoli and chicken thighs with coconut aminos.
Oh, yeah.
And if I have the extra carbs, I throw in some rice. I eat a lot of rice cakes with peanut butter and mini chocolate chips. A lot of Greek yogurt with Cheerios and blueberries and honey. Those are probably my top 3 things that I eat on repeat too. And luckily I'm okay with that. I know for some people, they don't like to eat the same things over and over again, but
yeah. I think that's where there's really good. I'm a person that likes eating the same things over and over again and doing my own meal prep. Like and that's what I'm like, I love chicken thighs. I think chicken thighs don't get utilized enough because one, they're cheaper and I just like I think they taste better. But like how that hits your fat goals and protein goals, which is awesome. But I know like, that's why I think like what I'm utilizing now is like Clean Eats of like, if you have one near you or just even like a meal prep service of that, then you can get more customization and more variety if that's not your jam. So I just feel like for me, like I could eat the same thing every day for 6 months straight, but I know most people are like, I could never do that. But I'm like, but there's still options out there. And just kind of like what you were saying too, of like doing a batch cook of like a carb and a protein. So, but you can make them different ways. So you can turn them into tacos or turn it into a salad or turn it into an omelet or something else where it's like you can take a chicken and rice and make it 7 different ways. If you would just be open to the opportunity of doing that, it doesn't have to just be plain chicken, rice, and broccoli every single meal. So again, it's like all those just kind of like experimenting and I think manipulating with it and then finding what you like. And then you'll find, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, kind of what I hear when I hear like the rice cakes and peanut butter and mini chocolate chips. That's probably something that you weren't eating before, but then you gave it a chance and then you're just like, this is my jam and now I'm going to eat this all the time.
Yes, exactly. It satisfies that craving of that sweet and salty perfectly, you know?
Yeah.
You just find the substitutes that fit your macros, and there's tons of them out there, you know? And it's not to say I really like those. Have you had the Yasso frozen yogurt bars? So good. They're so good. Yeah. I mean, I would have never tried something like that before, but.
So what kind of things were you eating before? Were you cooking your own meals, or were you kind of like a fast food person?
I cooked my own meals a lot. I was really stuck in the mindset of I'm eating healthy. I'm eating chicken and vegetables. That's something I've always ate, but so much of it.
Yeah.
So much of it. And I'm like, I mean, I should be able to eat however many vegetables and how much chicken I want. Like, that's good for you, right? I had no idea.
Yeah, it's like that's the stuff. I mean, I was doing the same thing. Or you're just kind of like, oh, it's trail mix. That's healthy. I'll motor down a whole bag. And then you're like, well, that's like 3,000 calories, which I mean is great when you're hiking and you're burning those calories. But it's like, I think, I'm so glad you said that, because I have definitely fallen in that trap. And I think so many of us do, of like, your brain is like, this is a healthy choice, but then you feel like, well, now it's unlimited because it's healthy, which some things it is, you know what I mean? Like you can eat bowls full of spinach and that's fine, but it's like, what are you pouring ranch on it? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm eating a salad, it's healthy, but also what's on that salad, and can't, like, not that you can't eat it, but like that salad now has calories that you're eating like 2 Big Macs, but you just like your brain flips into like, it's healthy, it's a salad. So it's so hard to work through those things, I think, without having a coach or somebody that has like the knowledge around it, because oh my God, I lived that way so long of like, I don't get it. I'm eating healthy. I'm eating salads, but salads that were just in no universe healthy at all. But my brain's like, salad. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I would say that when we do go out to eat, I always look ahead at the menu, and I'm always blown away by the salads. Like, they have more calories than the chicken sandwich, you know, like it's crazy. I would say I rarely get a salad when we go out. I usually get usually a chicken sandwich of sorts, and I just deconstruct it to fit what I need it to fit.
Yeah. And I think that's with anything of like, you can just figure out any menu. Like, I think even if you're going fast food, like you can figure out something that works for you. And I think the important part too is doing something that just like doesn't make you sad. I'm like, I actually enjoy eating this, not like, oh, I'm going to McDonald's and I'm eating like this little side salad or whatever because I quote unquote have to, because I'm quote unquote losing weight or I'm being healthy. So you choose the saddest thing on the menu. Like, that sucks. And obviously you're not going to stick to that if you're not choosing something that you find some sort of pleasure out of, because food is pleasurable. And I think that's also the trap you get into also, of just that you have this idea of quote unquote dieting, and it's just foods that are a bummer.
Yes, that is a great way to put it. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what's cool, you know, because I've worked with Sarah, and like for when I first started working with Sarah, like I was just like not in a mental space to be putting together it's so crazy because being such a meal prepper and doing all this stuff, when I started working with her, it was in 2020, and I had just gone on antidepressants, and I was really mentally struggling through a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I don't have the capacity right now. I'm like, can you please come up with like menu items for me? Which I know they still do. Like, if you ask like Jess to come up with menus, but I asked Sarah, like, can you just like literally design my day out for me? Like, I don't want to think about this. And the things that she came up with, and I'm like, I've been doing this for years, and I never would have thought to make this thing. And again, like, you make it and you're like, damn, that's good. I'm going to eat this every day now. One of the things that she got me so hooked on, and I still love it, because I like ending the day like on a sweet, like I have to end the day with like a sweet tooth sort of thing. Like, I just will, or I'll cut somebody. Like, so I know that about me. So I made like Kodiak protein, added extra protein powder into Kodiak cakes and mini chocolate chips, and made like like night pancakes as like my last meal of the day and just obsessed with them. I could eat those every single night for years. And I'm like, I never would have even thought, because your brain just goes pancakes, breakfast. But to think of like, oh, I'm having a high protein with my healthy fats and I'm getting those like carbs in there, because I used to be so in the camp of like, don't have carbs at night. And now I'm like, it doesn't freaking matter. I'm like, if this is what I need to eat at the end of the day that makes me super, super happy, so I don't go to bed feeling sad and hungry, I'm like, this is awesome. So it's just like, again, you just need somebody to be like, turn this way a little bit. And you're like, oh, dang, I never would have done that.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So like, how many meals a day do you eat now?
I usually eat 5.
Cool.
4 to 5.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I did 5, sometimes 6. So like it's so interesting because, again, I think that's so much of your journey of like, some people don't want to eat that many times a day, and other people, and then there's so many schools of thought of like, you got to keep your metabolism going, eat more, but then there's not. And then there's intermittent fasting. And like, again, like how you can get just caught up in all of this noise. And I feel like, well, what works for you? And do you have somebody that has some science behind it and has some knowledge and actually giving this a solid try and see if it works for you? And it's how much, when you really kind of pause, I think when you've been like a serial dieter, like both of us have, of like really sit in it and see like what's working. Like, I don't feel like I did that when, I did diets and would lose 60 pounds and gain it back. Like, I wasn't really feeling like I was like listening to how this works for my body. My brain was so much into like, just lose weight, whatever you have to do. Yes, eating 6 grapes at a time and 3 wheat thins it's perfect because I'm losing weight, but not really thinking of, how do I feel through all of this? Can I really do this? I don't know. It's really, I'm sure that you can relate to that of like, your brain just works in different ways when you're dieting like that.
Yeah, definitely. Something you said I was going to say, so many years of my life, I just didn't feel good after I ate. And after so long of doing that, you just think it's normal. And then once I started working with Sarah, and in the beginning, I cut back on soy, gluten, a little bit of dairy, eggs, cauliflower, like all these little things that she thought were maybe triggering me. And so I would cut all those out and then slowly added them back in. And it took me a long time to realize that I feel good. I don't have an upset stomach, or I don't have severe gas or after eating. Like, what? That's crazy. Right? I just, when you feel that way for so long, you just think that's normal, but it's amazing to not feel sick after you eat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that. And then also for me, I would eat to the point of feeling sick. Like, I wanted to feel so full. I felt sick. And it's like how much you think about, like, I don't know, like then, like, why am I doing, like, how is that helping me in any sort of way? Because then you just feel so awful afterwards. Like, you literally ate to pain and now you're in pain. Like, why are you doing this? Yes. And I think that one of the things I learned, and this is just part of my journey, and I didn't hear it put this way until I had a conversation on this podcast several years ago. And I was talking to like an expert in the subject of like binge eating and stuff like that. But she's just kind of like, yeah, you're mourning the end of the meal. And I'm like, ooh, that speaks to me. Like, I don't want it to end. So that's why I want so much volume. Like, I want this to keep going because I'm so sad when like the meal is over and I'm like, dang, I never thought of it that way.
Yes, that is a good one.
Yeah. So it's just like all this stuff that that you just don't realize until you kind of really look at it. And I think that, having like Sarah and Jess and her whole team of like people that have lived through this and have been through every phase of it, it's so helpful. And I think that, I don't know, you can tell me if this speaks to you at all. Like for me, going through all it feels like so private, and you're like off on your own island and you're like, I can figure this out. and it's scary to ask for help because you like don't want to admit you're doing these sort of things. Like at the time, I'm like, I'm not going to admit to anybody I sit here and eat to the point of pain. Like that's not something I'm going to go like make my, Facebook status. Like I'm not going to announce that to anybody. That feels awful. So I'm here just sitting in it in my own, and I'm obviously not figuring it out, but like sharing that with other people and like sorting through it is so helpful, but it's so hard to get past that hurdle of like talking about it and asking for help. At least it was for me.
Yeah, it was for me too. And I had that conversation with myself in the beginning. I said, I know myself and I won't ask the questions and I'll just keep everything to myself. And I made a commitment that I'm going to ask Sarah all the questions, tell her everything that's happening in my life, everything that I'm feeling. And I think having that open dialogue with her is really what made the biggest difference in the beginning. Like I didn't hold anything back, and I wanted her to explain everything to me, all the science, what's happening to me, why is this, and this, and that helped me to understand what was going on in my body and what I needed to do. And I think that's just how my brain worked, I just needed that information. And it felt so just like so much weight lifted off my shoulders to be able to talk freely about that. Like it's shameful, to say that. Like I never was really one to like binge eat in private, but I could put it down. I would just do it in front of my husband with my husband, like I never felt the need to really like hide it, but yeah, I could just eat and eat and eat. And then, I would just, even sometimes to the point where I would throw up, like so bad. But now that you say that, like, I didn't want that good feeling to end of just this motion, of hand to mouth.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Why does that feel so good?
Yeah. For me, I think it's just like numbing out. Like to me, like that is just such the motion of like, I'm checking out of here. Like, I don't want to think about my day or the things that make me feel bad. Like that to me is like, that's the, like being rocked to sleep. You know what I mean? Of like the hand to mouth, like I'm getting this motion. Because that like, even for me going into a binge, when I would go into like a binge, it's like, it doesn't even matter what the food is. It could be stale crackers, like whatever. Like it's gotta be, I just have to get this motion in as my way to like turn my brain off and check out of reality and not feel anything. So, it took me a really long time to piece that together for me of like, that's what I was doing. And then even when I was doing it, I didn't recognize it any sort of binge eating. And I was 100% secret eating too. So like I was doing that every single night. And I just, at the time, I just felt like I've got no willpower. I just suck. And then also at the same time, the conversation is like, well, I've lost weight before, so it doesn't matter. Like, go to town. You can do this again. Diet starts Monday. And then that would never start again. And then it would just be this constant cycle of doing these things of, I need to do this to tune out and then be in pain and then be like, oh my God, I hate myself. What'd I do that for? I'm not going to do that again. And then do it again the next night. And I'm like, yeah, but in that brain, in that space, I just wasn't looking at it at all. Again, it's like you make these changes and like once you become healthier and you start unwinding it, you're just like, ooh, oh my God, I just want to hug you. I wish that I would have like let that out a little bit more instead of being like, yeah, this is so shameful. I don't understand myself. I'm mad at myself. I suck. And not just being like, no, you just need some help. Like you need some guidance through this and somebody that understands, and was not being kind enough to myself at the time to give myself that. And then it would just be like, well, eat more to get rid of the angry, ugly feelings that I had about myself. It's crazy how many people like live through this. And that's where, I'm hoping conversations like this make people like feel like there's some sort of like, they're not alone or some sort of solution to it, because how many of us are doing this all the freaking time? And it's just like, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I don't want to live my life doing this until I die. Like that sucks.
Yes.
So, how are things now? Like, do you have any goals moving forward? Like, also, I know that you're down 145 pounds, which is just incredible. And that it just takes so much work and thought and determination. But it's like, how is your sleep? Like, how is like your energy? Like, how do your joints feel? How are all of the rest of your body and your brain feeling with these changes? And then do you have in mind anywhere else you want to go from here?
Yeah, I feel incredible. Like, I feel light and airy. My back doesn't hurt. Well, I am a dental hygienist, so my back always hurts. But that's different. But yeah, my knees feel good. I have so much energy. I've never been the person that when my head hits the pillow, I can fall asleep, but I am now. I used to be the person that would get like around 9:30 p.m. this like spike of energy, and then I couldn't fall asleep until like 3 a.m. And then I'd have to get up at 6 a.m., like that vicious cycle, and I just could never break it. But now I just fall asleep as soon as I lay down, and I wake up and I feel rested. Sorry, what else did you ask me?
I guess just also like where your mindset is now, and then also like do you have any goals for the future or anywhere else, or just like to keep on doing what you're doing? Yeah,
I do plan on just keeping on. I do have a goal weight in mind. Around 190 is where I'd like to be. So still working towards that. It's been, I think, one of the biggest challenges in this season has been in the beginning, the weight just really fell off really easily. And now it takes a little bit more for it to come off. So I've had a lot of life changes and stressors in the last year and a half as well. So that has slowed things down. But I keep reminding myself that all the stress that I have endured, like that would have derailed me back in the day. Yeah. Like I would have gained all that weight back, but just where I am in my mental space and having, someone like Sarah and Jess to talk to about it, like has made such a huge difference, and sometimes Sarah just keeps it real. She's like, you're not going to feel better if you eat that. Don't do it. Other times she's much more gentle, but sometimes you just need to hear that,
Yeah.
But again, and something that I tell if she has me talk to new potential clients, I say, you just have to be open and honest. Like, don't hold anything back, because she's been there and she will help you get through it. Like, I can't stress that enough. If I'm having a bad day at work and we have all these treats in the back room, I'll write her and I'll be like, these cookies are looking really good today. What do I do? She's like, they're not worth it. I'm like, but maybe just a taste. She's like, if it's just a taste, like you got to figure it, track it, figure it out. And sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not, but just, instead of just, I guess this would be the hiding aspect of it, just eating it and not tracking it, not necessarily eating it in private, right? But just eating it and not doing something about it. But I feel so much stronger and more confidence in myself. That anxiety around food, I would say 90% of the time, is so much better than it ever was. I can go out to eat. Sometimes going out to eat does make me feel a little bit anxious, just because maybe what I want to have and what I should have, are different. But I just, again, try to pick something that's going to make me happy and not make me sad, and enjoy myself. I just want to keep, being more active and keep lifting weights. And I love that I used to do a boot camp where I would do all the burpees and the box jumps, and I work out with less intensity, but I've seen more change, and that is something that I love. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just don't think people that have never really done any strength training understand how that changes the composition of your body and not making you bulky. Mm-hmm. But for me, I did so much cardio for so long, which I'm not going to knock, because I love hiking and I did a lot of running. So, and it did help me lose my 100 pounds. But like once I started strength training, I'm like, that's when my body was like, whoa, this is what I thought all the rest of that stuff was going to do. And it did not. Like having that, like, I guess just like, well, one, just feeling strong is, I think, huge. That's the biggest thing for me. But then, yeah, that's the body composition changes that you have in your mind are going to happen going through this process happen whenever you're lifting heavy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And I guess I shouldn't say like there's no intensity behind that, because there definitely is, but just not the bouncing around and, you know, putting all this stress on my joints that was unnecessary.
Yeah. And it's intentional too. It's more intentional than you're just kind of like trying to like get your heartbeat up and jump around, which nothing against those classes. Like I think that they serve their purpose, and if you enjoy them, you should, but like that should not like stop you from lifting weights. And the thought that that makes you bulky or you're going to look like, you know, like The Rock, is not what it's going to do at all. And plus there's just so much science behind like just bone density and how that's going to help you as you age, whether you're doing it for aesthetics or not. Like it is just the best thing for you. And it just won't shred your knees up too, which is helpful, because learn my lesson on that one. Knees aren't so good now from so much high impact cardio.
High impact cardio. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is something I do say about the boot camp classes that I did. They were exactly what I needed in that time in my life for mental space. Like it was such a fun, positive atmosphere, and I really enjoyed it in that regard. But I hurt, and I was always so inflamed, and that part wasn't what I needed.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that you noticed too, that I'm glad that you said inflamed. I think that when you're eating the correct things for your body, again, like you talked about doing some like food intolerance testing of like when you're eating the right things and you're fueling your body the right way and you see that inflammation go down, like that's super huge. Like, and now I know I'm really inflamed right now. I'm in a very stressful period right now. So I'm like, I can just see it. Like I can look in the mirror and I can see it and I can feel it. And I can do that now because I know what it feels like to not have it. And like before, I like, just like you were saying, like, I just always felt this way after eating. I thought that's how it was. And like, that's how I was too. But now when you feel what it feels like not to have it, and then you feel yourself going back there, I think for me, the conversation goes into, do I need to clean up my diet? Not so much of like, oh my God, I'm going to gain weight. I need the scale to go in a certain way. But like, man, I feel like crap. My knees hurt going up and down the stairs. I feel puffy. I feel stiff. Like I don't want to feel that way anymore. It's time to like lay off some of this junk that I'm eating, but it's like hard to have that perspective until you feel both sides of it. At least that's what I think anyway.
Yes. I 100% agree. Cause I had said, I had never felt well, which is so sad. But now that I feel well, and when I don't, I know the difference. I never knew what being bloated felt like, because I always was. Yeah. And now when I'm not, and then when I do get bloated, I'm like, that's what that feeling is.
So does the rest of your family eat the same way you do now?
Oh, no. No, my husband, he is actually a funny story. His name's Dwayne Johnson. You referenced The Rock earlier. Yeah. So he is the biggest supporter. Like he supports me in anything. He still eats the way that he wants to eat, and that's fine. I just told him, I said, I am all in on this, and I am not cooking 2 meals, so you're gonna have to fend for yourself if you're not going to eat this way. And he does, or I'll cook excess protein or something for him to have, but we just do it our own ways. So.
Yeah, no, I did the exact same thing for like a decade. So I'm like, I feel that when that's like, at least for me, of like, this is my journey. I'm not going to ask anybody else to do the same way. If you don't want to eat that way, like, that's not fair of me to be like, no, you need to eat the way that I'm going to eat. Just like it wouldn't be fair of him to be like, no, you need to eat the way that I want to eat. So yeah, just like whatever, you got to figure out your own system of what works. But that it has its own set of challenges with that though too, because then you're just like, the temptation's always there when the stuff's in the house. And then like, I feel like for me, I mean, there's part of it that's frustrating and it's a struggle, but it's also, I feel like what makes you stronger. Because it's like, this is how the world is. Like, because I'm eating this way doesn't mean Cheetos don't exist in the world anymore. So like, what is my relationship with them? Whether they're in my house or they're at the gas station that I could easily go get to. So I feel like it adds a new level of how do you navigate your issues or sensitivities with food. Like, you know, when it's in the house, but you are making the choice that you don't want to eat it. So I don't know how you feel all about that, but I feel like it's definitely a learning process.
Yes, it definitely is. He has a cabinet that's higher up in the kitchen that he puts all his things in. Yes, I can still reach it, but it takes a little bit more effort for me to get in there. So he does that, and I know he's just being kind, and he's like, "Oh, do you want a bite?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, but." No. And I mean, sometimes I say yes, but I try really hard to say no. And again, just deciding, is it worth it? Should I have a few of these Cheetos or should I not? You know, you just, to be able to make that choice, you know, and sometimes it's like, hell yeah, I'm going to eat this right now. And other times like, no, I don't need that. That's fine. You know?
Yeah, I think that's the big win, because I'm the exact same way. Is you're not telling yourself no, but you pause and ask the question first before just like mindlessly just going there, of being mindful of what you're eating and being like, yes, sometimes it's a hell yeah, and sometimes it's a hell no. And like you're in this space, at least you're pausing to make the conversation with yourself and the question, I think is such huge win. And I feel like also for me, when I had all the food in my house, like just these mindset ways of thinking about, like, cause like if he had his stuff that I knew I didn't want to eat or it would make me feel like crap on the other side of it. One, pausing and having the conversation of like, how am I going to feel after this choice? Am I going to feel good mentally and physically after this choice? And if the answer is no, then why am I choosing to go there? But also I would view it as like in the fridge or whatever, or even like whatever, I would view it as if like, like the work fridge. Would I just go in and eat somebody else's sandwich? Would I just go in and eat somebody else's bag of Ruffles? I would not do that. And I'm like, but if I did, then I need to tell them that I did it, and then I need to replace it. So I'm like, do I want to go into this cycle all the time in my own house of like, hey, sorry, I ate your whole bag of Ruffles. Now I got to go buy you some. I'm like, ugh. Like, so that would put a pause on me too, of like not only thinking through how am I going to feel on the other side of this choice, but this is also a part of it too. Like I have to be open and honest and about like what I'm doing and how am I going to resolve this situation. I'm like, never mind. Like that's a lot of work. I'm just going to stick to my meal prep. Forget the Ruffles. Jeez, that's like 10 steps.
And a trip to the store.
Right? Like now I'm out money too. And so like, I don't know. For me, it just took to be like, this is how I think it's just pausing and being mindful and thinking through those things, not to saying that you can't or you're handcuffed or it's no, because I think once you go into that restriction is when you find yourself in trouble, which I have in the past. Once I tell myself I can't have it, then all I'm going to do is think about it, and then I'm going to binge the hell out of it. But by doing it this way, I'm like, I'm not saying no. I'm saying why, and like let's think. And I think that just makes such a huge difference in moving forward and like learning to trust yourself and being like, I'm okay with this, and then being proud of myself for making those choices of being like, yeah, I could go drive to the store right now and buy a cake. I can go buy an entire birthday cake and eat it. And that sounds kind of awesome. But then sitting there thinking through it and having the conversation with myself and then not doing it and then being like, I'm proud of myself because I could like literally go do that. I had this whole conversation with myself and I told myself I can if I want to. And then I'm like, but I chose not to for these reasons for myself. And then you just, I feel like that's what builds confidence and you feel good and you can trust yourself and then you can just keep moving, like stair stepping from there. But That's the part that ain't easy, where it's not as easy as Weight Watchers just being like, eat this, don't eat this, and then don't think about anything else. It's like all this other crap is how it's going to like last forever, but it's not as easy.
Mm-hmm. I think when just knowing that you can have that again. That was one thing I told Sarah in the beginning, is like, I don't want to eat the entire pizza thinking that I'm never going to be able to eat pizza again. Yeah. Like that's where I struggle. She's like, girl, you can eat pizza. Just like have, a piece or two and then a big salad on the side. And it's like, just satisfy whatever it is that you're feeling in the time, however you can, and then there's other times I make a pizza out of a pita bread and call it good. And no, it's not as good as a regular pizza, but it gets me by until I'm ready to have that regular pizza,
Yeah. And there's certain things too, I think, that like making a different version of it, like we kind of talked about earlier, like sometimes you fall in love with that thing where you're just like, oh, I'm making this as a substitute to the pizza, but maybe you fall in love with the flatbread pizza and you're just like, this I actually like even better. So I think it's just being open to trying those things, and you just never know what thing you're going to fall in love with, or it might even be better than what you thought it was going to be. Like the protein Kodiak cake pancakes, I like those way more than if I just made straight up pancakes. And so I'm like, I never would have put that together and made it, but it's like one of my favorite things. So I just think it's also being open-minded to try new stuff and not going into it thinking like, this flatbread pizza is going to suck. I'm like, if it's not regular pizza, well then how can you even be open to the opportunity that you'll like it more if you're just telling yourself you hate it the whole time? So I think it's those kind of like mindset shifts that go into everything too, of just like not being so negative about the process.
Definitely being open-minded. I feel like one thing that's made this journey easier for me is I'm not a picky eater. I'll eat anything, any combo. I think of somebody like my mom, she's a very picky eater. And I just think if she was on this journey, how hard it would be for her until she could change that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and that's where she's just got to find something that would work for her. You know what I mean? So maybe she found stuff within her wheelhouse that, that works for her. And I think that's what's important about having a coach like Sarah and Jess is they understand that and can meet you where you're at. And it's not like you got to do it this way or nothing. It's like, well, let's meet you where you're at and let's figure out something that works for you, which I think is so important about having a coach that's actually looking at you holistically as a person than just finding some program online that is meant for everyone, which obviously will not work for everybody. So it's a process. You got to be open to asking for help. And then when you getting it, and then just being, open and honest about who you are so they can help you with the plan that works for you, instead of you telling them whatever version you think that you want them to see you as, and that's not really going to get you anywhere either.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Like Sarah's absolutely right. You are a total badass.
Thank you.
And what an amazing journey, and congratulations on like all of the, the work that you've done. And like, I'm so glad that, that you're feeling really good now and you're finding like a lifestyle that works for you, and like, just wish you continued success. And thank you so much for being open and vulnerable and sharing your story with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It always feels good to talk about it. When you're living it every day, sometimes you forget like all the things that you've gone through to get here.
Right.
So,
well, you've done a lot, so I hope that you celebrate yourself because you're a total badass.
Thank you so much.
AmandaValentineBites.com